What's up, y'all? It's your host, Sensei Eki. I'm back again with another episode. Today, we have a jam-packed, hour-full episode of Pure Hopes. We finally reached the NBA Finals. The 2025 NBA season is slowly coming to an end, and one thing that I can't say this season has been not just beautiful, not just climactic, but it's been the perfect hoop season. It's been the perfect ball knowledge season. That's the best way I can put it. And honestly, this NBA Finals is the perfect finals for anybody that just loves basketball as is. If you didn't know, the Indiana Pacers are going against the Oklahoma City Thunder. And the best way I can describe this to a non-NBA super fan, think of the immovable object versus the unstoppable force. These two teams have been barreling their way towards this NBA Finals, and one team has had all the chips stacked against them, and the other team, everybody has been anticipating this type of run since they made that trade for Alex Caruso just last summer. And honestly, it's been beautiful to watch the way that they've been barreling through a lot of these teams. One of the things that people are noticing, especially about these two teams, it's not a surprise that either of these teams are where they are right now, but it is a foregone conclusion if you've been using ball knowledge that these would be the finals MVP. This will be the finals preview that we're getting right now. If you haven't been keeping up with this playoff series so far, the Indiana Pacers 1-5 against the Bucks. And then they won in, I think, 5 again versus the Cavs. And then they won in 6 against the New York Knicks. And now they're headed to the finals. And guess what? They have been the underdog for the last two low-key 3 playoff matchups that they've been going through all the way to the finals. And guess what? They're also the playoff underdog right now, the finals underdog. If you put it, what is the betting odds? If you were to put $10 right now, you'd probably make $1,000 by the time the season is over, if they end up winning it all. And then on the other side, the Oklahoma City Thunder has been showing everybody how they have been planning this for the whole Sam Presti era. They have been setting up the ships. They have made the requisite trades to make this beautiful super team. A super team that NBA fans love, a super team that's been built through the draft. That's what they've been built through the draft, through trading, and they haven't been bailing everything out on trying to get superstars from here and here and here. But instead, they have been saying, you know what? KD's going to go. Russ is going to go. Harden's going to go. Paul George is going to go. We are going to trade anything and anybody to set ourselves up for this season right now. And it's totally paid off. They beat the Grizzlies, I think, in like 4 or 5. And then they went against the Nuggets. Now that was a battle. It felt like watching a team that needed to iron out some deficiencies through the playoffs, but they haven't faced any team that truly gave them a challenge for them to learn from. And that's why the Denver Nuggets series turned out the way that it was, and it ended up going all the way to 7. And then going towards the Minnesota Timberwolves, truly showing what type of ammunition that they're able to just throw out at any given moment, leading themselves to the finals as we are right now. And honestly, this finals matchup is going to be beautiful. Let me break down some ball for y'all. Where would y'all rank Tyrese Halliburton? Top 15? Top 20? Top 8? Right now, if I was to ask you, who would you rather have, Tyrese or Ja Morant? There would be a lot of, that's a tough question. Who would you rather have, Tyrese or LaMelo Ball? Tyrese Halliburton is showing off that he's so weirdly good, and he's showing that the average NBA fan doesn't understand what he actually brings to the table, and is shifting the way that we are recognizing what is needed to run a playoff ready, a finals contending team. Because keep in mind, he can't be older than like 25, right? He's a young dog. He's a very, very young player that's able to be as composed and as locked in to this mold of a traditional point guard. Have you ever watched Tom Brady and you always recognize, people would always say he is the GOAT. He is the objective best QB in the league at this moment. Or, you know what, not even at the moment, of all time. But it's only for stretches. He's not out here just blowing teams out the water with just pure offensive talent, knowing exactly here to boom, 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 boom. No. I feel like Tyrese Halliburton and Tom Brady have this way, especially through this playoff series specifically for Tyrese Halliburton, where he's been able to give his team exactly what he needs, especially through the offensive side of the ball, because of his whole role is all I need to do is just grease this machine. I have a bunch of good players on my team and I cannot get in their way because of, you know what? We are going to need them later on. We are going to need teams to start trying to bail out on me. And you know what? I need to be able to set my teammates up to be able to not just score, but be a legitimate threat for down the road, right? And I feel like it has created this weird sense of dominance that has come from the Indiana Pacers this playoff series, where even though they've been the underdog for literally 2 of the last 3 playoff series that they've been in, they've been able to set themselves up to not just exploit teams' defensive lapses, but they've been able to set themselves up to play off of their defensive lapses. Like, I've started to notice the Tyrese Halliburton-led Indiana Pacers have always been staying in the game. They're never behind more than like 15 to 18 points. And they're never out of the game because they know as long as we can keep it close, we can throw out a bunch of not just threes, but we could be in the type of transition offense that sets teams up to be on their heel, play on their defense. But they do this thing that's very interesting. Their decision making, especially late game scenarios, is second to none. And to even speak on this underdog vibe that they've been going on through this season, the best way I could describe this Indiana Pacers team is house money, because no one has expected them to be this far. Nobody thinks of their roster as having the type of firepower to even contend with teams, even in the East. Oh my God. Do you know what blew me the most? The average NBA fan believed that the firepower of the New York Knicks with their 2 to 3 players that are truly offensive threats would be enough to blow the Indiana Pacers away. And they've been able to capitalize on not just mistakes. They've been able to capitalize on the fear of somebody hunting you down. Because one of the things I've noticed, especially with all their late game comebacks, they could be down 15, they could be down 17, and they could they're down like 21 against the New York Knicks, and they're able to just like claw their way back in because they just know, hey, we literally just need one run. And we have scorers, we have shooters, we have transition players, and it will be done, especially because the Indiana Pacers have been able to combine the 7 seconds or less basketball of the Phoenix Suns with the passing efficient, team-oriented play of the San Antonio Spurs of the Tim Duncan era to match together to have this not just fast-flowing, free-flowing offense, but this concise decision-making offense that makes defensive teams have to continue to play defensive positions and possession all the way to the final clock. And it gets difficult because of like, if you've played basketball, right, just running fives, you start to notice if you can get 3 passes going, defenses they just get confused. They just get confused. So imagine a team like the Indiana Pacers that literally give off about 300 passes, give or take, every single game. The ball is just phew, 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 and you're just looking like, what are we supposed to do with that? What are we supposed to do with that? And every team that they faced off against, it seemed like they've targeted at least one of their players where it's like, oh, you're not a defensive liability per se, but one thing I can count on you to do is have mental lapse. I can count on you. If we get 5 passes going, you are just going to stand. You are just going to stand. And you know what? Nembhard diving from the corner. Oh, Pascal Siakam, mismatch, big finish. You know what? Miles Turner, space out to the 3-point line, shoot that, bang, and you just have to sit with it. And as the game goes on, it just hits harder and harder and harder, especially when these players that they're picking on is your best player. Is a player that you need to play. I could turn around and look at the New York Knicks, where it's like they had to sit Karl Anthony Towns for what's his name? They sat Karl Anthony Towns to continue to play Mitchell Robinson, because of, even though Cat was giving y'all the amount of offense that he was giving y'all like, what was it, like 24 to 28 a game, and he was leaking so much on the offensive end, and he was leaking so much on the defensive end that they're like, hey, they're like, hey, Mitchell Robinson, even though they're playing Hack a Robinson right now as we speak, you are going to be our best option right now. And that says a lot to the way that they like to run their offense. One of the things I like about Rick and the way that he plays the Indiana Pacers, he likes to instill this offensive ideologies when he's playing against different types of teams and when they're able to run different types of sets. When we moved away from this ISO heavy, clogging up the paint type of style of basketball, and we move towards the pace and space era, one of the things you recognize, the way that you play defense on the isocentric versus the pace and space, you can run more man against this iso heavy centric type of basketball, right? But the best way to combat that is you go towards a zone and different types of cool zones. And one of the things that we recognize when you're watching this playoff specifically, a lot of teams have been forced to run special, not just complex. That, I feel like that simplifies what they're doing far too much. But this, when these teams, they're forced to run special types of zones where they morph from a man to a zone. They run from cleaning up the paint to stretching out to the fives, to having bigs guard littles, to littles guard bigs, just switching, free flowing the whole 9 yards. That's going this amoeba style defensive techniques that teams are running nowadays, especially Oklahoma City Thunder, but we'll get to that later. The best way to counteract it, or at least the way that I've seen the Pacers go about it, they run this elbow system, right? Where instead of, when you hear the elbow, when you hear the high elbow, you tend to think of when bigs get it in the, not in the post, but in the two high elbows where they catch and they're able to see the full court and make passes out of it. Think of it like the triangle offenses that the Chicago Bulls were running back in the day. But what they do instead of catching it to make plays, they are throwing picks there. They are sending picks, and they're not just sending picks from going from the corner 3 up, but since they have some bigs that can shoot, specifically Miles Turner, they're able to run this 5-out offense where they're continuously moving into the high elbows to create some crazy amount of movements that is leading to a lot of mismatches that are the reason why they're able to make so many offensive changes and take advantage of so many mismatches when you get to a guy like Pascal Siakam and Miles Turner. But specifically, I like to narrow it down with Pascal Siakam more. Pascal Siakam, he was able to win the Larry Bird MVP of the Eastern Conference due to his ability to not just take advantage, but the way that he's been playing defense and the way that he's been able to keep such a high motor and keeping teams on their heels. And that's one thing I want to talk about with Pascal Siakam. He is Pascal Siakam is sprinting his way into really interesting conversations by the time this season is over, right? Because not only has he been mismatch hunting, but he's been hitting some of the most difficult shots that I didn't even think was in his bag. Pascal Siakam is the number one offensive threat on the Indiana Pacers, and it feels weird to say when you have a young star like Tyrese Halliburton on your team, because it's like, oh no, he's the one that's created all the offense and doing all the passing, things of that nature. But if you were to watch him against what was the team? I'm going to say, instead of going to the New York Knicks game, I want to narrow it down to the Cleveland Cavaliers game, because of not only was he the only consistent offensive threat throughout the whole series, but when the Pacers needed a bucket, it was him that got it. When the Pacers needed to stretch out a lead, it was him that got it. When the Pacers needed a person that go tweet, sidestep, for some way, somehow, Pascal Siakam was that guy. And you know what? I will mention the New York Knicks series. Bro. I thought OG Anunoby was going to sun him. I thought OG Anunoby would be like, hey, I know you were the guy that was ahead of me on the Toronto Raptors, but it's me now. I'm the max player. I'm the guy that teams go and make big trades for and move all their picks and throws 5 picks and 2 of their best players to go and get me. But Pascal Siakam said, I know all your moves. Let's be serious. You know that spin move you do? That's Spicy P. You know that side step you do? That's Spicy P. You know how you get under a lot of these players? How you're able to overwhelm players with your speed and strength? That is Spicy P. I taught you all that. And you know what? I don't want to say he sunned him, but oh my God. Oh my, wow. That's all I can say about that. Just wow. And it's not just beautiful to watch how Pascal Siakam is able to, he's going to be able to insert himself into some crazy conversations if they're able to get through this series. But I'm telling you, conversations must be had. And the last thing I want to touch on with the Pacers before I move on to the Oklahoma City Thunder, they're able to have teams implode on themselves, especially if you've been watching how these playoffs have been going through. Talk about the Bucks, because I feel like that's like a weird sample size, because like Damian Lillard, he was injured. Giannis, he was playing all worldly games. I will say all worldly, but he was forced into this I just have to score to keep the Pacers away type of game. And that's a very dangerous game to play against a team that is so offensively, a team that's so offensively superior, and the way that they run their sets like a team like the Pacers, you don't want to fall into that trap as a superstar. And I don't really want to mention a guy like Kyle Kuzma, because like I think he forgot that he was like their off-season max guy, that they wanted to like take the role of a Chris Middleton, but I'm pretty sure Chris Middleton right now can outplay. I don't want to have those conversations. I don't want to have those conversations. I don't want to talk about how it felt like a lot of these role players that were supposed to step up when they're at their own home was supposed to step up, but they kind of didn't. I don't really want to talk about the lackluster in coaching. But I will say, the way that they're able to handle business, the way that they're able to exploit Giannis's need to be able to dominate, the way they're able to exploit the defensive lapses on their team and be able to come out victorious is a thing that I think people should really keep in mind of when they see a team as the Oklahoma City Thunder with a big like they do over there. Let's go to the next series. The Cleveland Cavaliers. Donovan Mitchell put up his. Donovan Mitchell has so many magnum opus games that it's like every single time he goes to the playoffs, he's like, I'm gonna lose, but like 45 a game, I'll do it. 10 threes in a game, I will do it. Donovan Mitchell was single-handedly carrying the Cleveland Cavaliers offense from the... he was carrying the offensive, the scoring load. He was carrying the passing load. He was doing his best to at least stay on the court, because every single time he was on the court playing against the Pacers, he was putting his body on the line. He was driving. He was doing some of the cool... he was giving Kyrie Irving a run for his finishing bag material. He was giving Kyrie Irving a tween. Hey, it was crazy. It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. Donovan Mitchell was putting his heart and his life on the line to be able to just slightly compete with the Pacers. And you know what? Every single time they had a lead, every single time the Cavs had a lead of 20, in my heart, I texted bro, oh my God. I texted my guy. I was like, I don't think they're winning this game. Yeah. I think it was like game 3. Donovan Mitchell has like, how much did he put up? I think he had like near like 35 going into the third or something like crazy like that. I'm like, he's gonna like bottom out. So by the time halfway through the fourth is coming, and that's kind of what he did. Look, okay, Donovan Mitchell. This is what his scoring output was: 35, 9, 1, 4 steals. The next game, it was a bad game. It was a down game. 12, 1, and 0. Game after that, 43, 9, and 5. 48, 5, and 9. In the 5 games he played versus the Indiana Pacers this year, he scored 123 points. That is 24.6 points every single game. That's calm. That's nothing too crazy. But what if I would tell you one of those games he had 12? And they still lost in 5. It was wild. It was insane. It was crazy. It was because you could always say, oh, they didn't have all their guys. Oh, they were missing their bigs. Oh, this and that and this and that. But I will sit here and I'm gonna tell you this right now. I don't think that would have done much. I do not think that would have done much. And they were still able to set Donovan Mitchell the same trap they've been setting superstars on this whole playoff series. Let's go to the Knicks. The New York Knicks, they were the heavy favorites after defeating the Celtics. Teams were scared. I was scared. I thought they were like, okay, this is the Knicks teams that I thought would be able to actually take it all the way and actually like win it all. Just win it all. Because I always thought, okay, I don't know how their starting 5 will be able to continuously play at the level that they're playing, or at least take it up a notch to beat the top 2 teams on each seed. At least they have to figure that out before even like trying. But they were able to run this defense that was forcing the Celtics to take the worst shots imaginable. Just clank, 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 clank. Just forcing them into bad shots. They were able to keep Karl-Anthony Towns in the game. Just the whole Celtics game, besides like the in and out foul troubles and things of that nature. But then when the Pacers saw them, they were exploiting the Jalen Brunson, Karl-Anthony Towns minutes every single time they were on the floor. It was bad. It was bad. And every single game they played, it feels like they were taking the Knicks' heart just because there were some games where I was like, how did y'all lose that? Like game 1, after they lost the lead and after Tyrese Halliburton hit him with I was like, okay, this series might be bad. This series might be really, really bad because they were lulling their superstars into the same trap they've been doing for the past 2 series, where They get their guard, and they're like, okay, you are this offensive dynamo that could average 38 in your sleep. Do that. Go for it. You know what? We want you to do that. We're not even going to put our best defender on you for real, for real. You're going to see him, but it's not going to be, we're not going to throw everything we have. We're not throwing the kitchen sink trying to stop a Jalen Brunson, trying to stop a Donovan Mitchell, trying to stop a Giannis Antetokounmpo. You can have it. You can have it. But you best believe if you can't put up 60 points by yourself, good luck. Because Nembhard will have 14. Tyrese will have 14. Pascal will have 24. Miles Turner will have 15. Andrew Nembhard will have 15. Ben Mathurin will come off the bench with 15. If you really think one man will beat us, let's go for it and let's see how it works. You are going to be skimping out on passing it to your guys because you believe you're him. You believe you could outscore us as a team by yourself. We are not going to try and force you to be a team basketball player. We can't force you to be a team basketball player. So go ahead, play your game. But it might not work in the long run. Now let me talk about the prolific favorite in the Oklahoma City Thunder. They have designed their team to put everything they have on the defensive end. Actually, no. That's not the best way I could explain it. The best way I can describe the Oklahoma City Thunder when it comes to the way they like to play the game of basketball, they tend to do a couple things. One, people say the Pacers have the highest pace in the league. No. Oklahoma City Thunder. The Oklahoma City Thunder revolves around how fast and how cohesive they're able to play the game of basketball, especially when you turn towards the defensive side of the ball. They have so many first team, all defensive caliber players on their team right now. They are so focused on how cohesive they can be and how cohesive they should be, to the point of being able to know exactly where everybody is going to be and play off of that. And knowing kind of how the Pacers know that eventually teams' defenses break down, the Oklahoma City Thunder know eventually your offense has to break down. Eventually, there has to be a stop. Eventually, there has to be a guy that just has a split second slow of a decision making that they go and try and get steal other way around. Because that's the way they like to play the game. As long as they can force enough turnovers, as long as they can hound you on all sides of the courts, they are going to be able to generate some back-breaking defense. And it gets to the point where the best way I could describe this, I'm a Minnesota Timberwolves fan. I'm a Minnesotan through and through. And every single time I watch them steal the ball out of Julius Randle's hand, or Naz Reid trying to go through the contact, no foul call, they're going the other way, they're scoring. It feels like a dagger to the heart. It was getting to the point where I was like, it can't be every single play, can't be a difficult play. We have to get something easy, but it's like, good luck trying to get something easy. And it turns into I started to notice this when I was watching Oklahoma City throughout this season. It felt like they were actively trying to give you this false sense of mismatches when you do have a prolific big on your side of the court. Or at least when you think you have a size advantage, you don't really have a size advantage. Because of their guards. I'm going to talk about them first. Their guards have been able to anchor their defense around their guards in a way that should not be possible. Their defensive anchors are Alex Caruso, their defensive anchors are Alex Caruso, J-Dub, and Chet. Those are like the three main guys that they run their defensive through if you watch the game. Because if you notice, they're able to throw Alex Caruso on everybody, right? As And I started to notice when they're playing against the Denver Nuggets because of like they have a prolific big, an all-timer. And you know how they guarded him? Well, they threw everybody at him. So at first they threw Hartenstein at him, said, hey, big body versus big body, we'll get someone that's swiping. We'll get someone that's roaming and helping you out. That didn't really work too well. He was a little too slow-footed. Then they said, okay. Let's throw Chet in there. Let's throw Chet, and then we'll have Hartenstein roam. He will help out. He'll play big. Everyone put your hands up. You'll be fine. He didn't have enough cushion in the cushion. Spin move, up fake, finish right through you. Or wait till you come down, foul and one. Calm. So they're like, okay, what do we do now? They're like, okay, let's just try something. They throw Caruso. They said, hey, instead of just guarding him off like the side and you could swipe and you could help and do all that. Nah. One-on-one. I need you. Go and guard him. And he was like, okay, I'm going to take this matchup. And he said the coldest line. He said, all right, I'm going to die on this court defending Jokic. I'm going to put everything I got into this matchup right now. And that's exactly what he did. He was fronting. He was behind the back. He was pushing him. He was fighting on him on the backside. It nearly looked like he was fouling him every single possession down. But they weren't calling it. They weren't giving it to him. Because he was so small, he knew he could be a little bit more physical than the average really big defender. So the fact that you could throw him on him, the fact that you can throw Caruso on Jokic and then have everybody else swarming, it created way too many arms. It was just a lot. It was just overwhelming. Jokic was still able to get his points. He was able to get his passes off. He was able to like do what he needed to do, but it just wasn't as prolific as an MVP, as a two-time MVP should be, three-time. That's a whole nother conversation. It's not as great as it could have been. It's not as damaging as it should have been. And let's go to J-Dub. J-Dub is 6'9", 230 if I was to guess. He plays like he's 7 foot. It is freaky. It is really, really weird. Because throughout, you notice this in the earlier season when I think it was Chet that went down with an injury. And they're like, okay, J-Dub, run the 5. And you know what? They said, okay, let's figure this out. We know we can go small ball on the offensive side, but will we be able to keep our team without having to play the other Jalen Williams, without Chet, without Hartenstein, and still be able to run J-Dub at the center? Because they're like, okay, there are some matchups that we will see in the playoffs. There's some matchups that we will see in the finals. We're going to see it now, where we're going to need to be able to run our small ball lineup and still not be leaking too much on the defensive end. And you know what? He was phenomenal. He was absolutely phenomenal. He was able to not just roam, but he was also be able to play big. He was able to guard 1 through 5. And I don't even like saying that sentence. I don't like saying a guy can guard through 1 through 5, because more time than not, it's really like 1 through 3 or 1 through the 4, maybe, or the 4 through the 5. It's never as concise and as magical as the 1 through 5 unicorns that we see nowadays with a guy like Bam Adebayo. But he was able to do it. And then we turn around and we get Chet. Chet has been able to stretch. He's been able to play the 5 recently. He can shoot not too well, but you have to respect the shot. You have to respect the stretch 5 abilities, right? And the way he's been playing, he's kind of like Wemby, where it's like he looks really long, but he's even longer than he like seems, in a sense, where he's able to like cover the whole paint by himself. If you're inside the square, he can get there. He can like physically reach, touch you over there, and it's calm, to the point where teams have to second guess when they're trying to go up for it, because they run this system where Chet is this roaming force that's forcing you to have to second guess consistently. And that's a thing you cannot do against Oklahoma City Thunder, because that second guess is throw it to the corner, try and get a steal. No cost, no, because it's like, hey, you second guess, you pass to the corner, and that's a Cason Wallace steal. Or you're trying to throw it to the big, and no, J-Dub is right over there. Oh, SGA just picked your pocket, and now they're the other way trying to score. And every single time they do that, it's devastating. It's very much devastating. And not to mention, I haven't even mentioned their actual first team all defensive player in Lu Dort, the Dorter Chamber. I saw this stat where anytime a superstar guard goes against the Oklahoma City Thunder, every time Lu Dort is on them, just go ahead and remove like 6 points from their averages. Just remove 6 to 8 points because he's not fouling. He's going chest to chest, and if anything, you forget how strong he is because he's not that tall of a player. So he's like a really beefy guy. So he's able to like hold his own against really big players like a LeBron James or a more calmer, cleaner player like a Devin Booker. He's able to play both styles. He's able to guard a Luka. He's able to guard Anthony Edwards. He's able to guard all these different types of number one offensive guys. That is just, it changes the way that they have to approach the game to begin with. And let's talk about the way their offense. Let's talk about the way their offense runs. One of the things I like to say on this channel, the playoffs are where you learn, the finals is where you put it all together. In the playoffs, the Oklahoma City Thunder has faced a litany of teams that kind of felt they've all fallen a little short. They've all looked very pedestrian when they've went against Oklahoma City Thunder. Like we could go after the first one with the Memphis Grizzlies. They were supposed to, I don't even want to say they were supposed to learn how to figure out playing against like explosive guards because of they kind of know how to guard that, and that's why the matchup seems so like overwhelming on the Oklahoma City and the OKC side, because of every single time that Ja Morant would get the ball, they're like, you know what, you know what, we'll let you shoot, but you know how it gets really disrespectful? They're like, no, let's not do that. You know what? Let's just cut the head off the snake immediately. Press up on him. We're just gonna go one-on-one because we trust not just our guys, not just our guards. We trust our bench to make rotation. We trust our centers to make rotations. We trust our superstar guard, the offensive engine, the MVP, to play defense. So we could all just sit. Forget it. We'll just sit. And the fact that they're able to just like show how overwhelming their offense can be. How much did they win every game? I think they won every game by like 30 when they went home. It was wild. It was actually super wild watching them play against teams this playoff series. All these playoffs matchups, because it's like, okay, you can go and try whatever you want, and we were just gonna blow you out. If you liked it or not, we're just gonna blow you out. Let's go to the next matchup. And they played against the Denver Nuggets. And they honestly put up the most fights I've seen out of any team. Because even though they were hurt, Aaron Gordon had no shoulder. What's his name? Jamal Murray was throwing up. They said, you know what? We got it. They push it to 7. They make SGA put on an MVP performance game in and game out. He only had like one series where he was like, but they were able to crack the code. They're finishing. They figured it out, and they started running so many different types of zone actions that were forcing so many turnovers. It was a beautiful series to watch. If you ever get a chance, you should definitely rewatch it. And let's go over to the Minnesota Timberwolves series. I think they put everything together. That was what their main objective was with that matchup. Specifically for J-Dub and Chet, because they've been having all right playoffs so far, but with the Denver Nuggets series, they were trying to force J-Dub to be like, okay, you're an all-star, you're an offensive threat, right? Show us. Let's see if you're able to let's see if you're able to create without SGA setting it up for everybody and making such a free-flowing offense that you're able to ISO and attack weak links. Let's make you break the ball up. Let's make you have to decide if you're going to make a jab and then go right. Let's make you figure out how to use a guy like Let's make you figure out how to use a guy like Lu Dort when he's in the corner. Is he a shooter? Is he not? Figure that out. And with the Timberwolves series, everybody thought it was supposed to be at least 7 games. It was supposed to be like a hard-felt game, but no. No, it really wasn't. Chet was showing out. J-Dub was showing out. Kaysen was showing out. Wiggins was showing out. It was just a lot from all sides of the court, and I haven't even mentioned SGA that much, but we will get there. We will get there. It turned into learning how to use the bigs was one of the main things that I felt like they took away from that series, because of crashing the boards is an art. Being able to throw your body around is an art that you will need to use later in the game, because of now that the finals, now they're all the way to the finals. This is going to be crazy. Some of the X factors of these matchups, I want to go first for the Oklahoma City. Let's go OKC first. I want to see how good J-Dub will do this series, because this might be a really good jumping off point, because of he's going to be bigger than majority of the players that they're going to be going against. Actually, let's do matchups first. Let's go Tyrese Halliburton is probably going to have majority of his matchups. I personally would like going against a guy like J-Dub, the Alex Caruso, get like a shorter guy that's going to be able to like run and keep up with a guy like Tyrese Halliburton, because of I don't want to sacrifice. I wouldn't like to sacrifice Lu Dort on guarding him. I'd rather throw Lu Dort on Nembhard or a low-key Pascal, but it'll be a very difficult, very interesting conversation trying to use strength with speed over there. But with Tyrese Halliburton, because it feels like the best thing to do with Tyrese is kind of forget about him, honestly. Just go one-on-one and just try and get him to ISO, because of it feels like he's able to score, especially when it was the New York Knicks series. And you know what? And the Cavs, it felt like trying to bail out and put everything on him, throw the kitchen sink at him, kind of defeats the purpose of what the Pacers are actually trying to do, because they want everybody else to get going. They want you to focus on a guy like Nembhard, because when you're doing that, you give a guy like Tyrese Halliburton, who's able to score, because of even in the beginning of the year, they had a poll saying who's the most overrated player. Tyrese Halliburton won. Middle of the playoffs, when the playoffs started, they had a who's the most overrated player in the league conversation. Tyrese Halliburton was number 1 again. And I feel like that's because people don't understand what type of player he is and what he actually brings to the table. So trying to put everything on him to be like, hey, let's try and slow him down. Let's quote unquote slow the pace. I feel like that's not good when you have a lot of green lights on that team. But yeah, let's go. Tyrese should be put on. Who should guard him? Honestly, SGA. I'm not gonna lie to you. Let's just go SGA. Let's really just go SGA. Just straight up. Just guard him straight up. And a guy like Lu Dort, throw him on. Who's there? Probably like a Nembhard. Honestly, you know what? I don't think they have to do much, because it's probably going to boil down to a bunch of zone play, and everyone just not so much sticking to the area, but just trying to funnel everything into a guy like Chet, or at least not getting lost. That's going to be the main X factor for the Oklahoma City Thunder, alongside with a guy like J-Dub, showing that he is a potential superstar, showing that he is able to step up to the plate when you do need him to be an offensive threat, being able to not just take pressure off of SGA because of they honestly don't need him to have the ball so much. If SGA falls into the trap of, okay, I need to average 45, 8, and 7, we don't need that. We do not need that. Especially when you have a player like him where he averages like 39. He averages like 39 against the Pacers. We don't need all that. We do not need all that. Literally play within the game. Because the SGA has this funny thing of people love to talk about aura and how calm and the nonchalant and the calm and all that whole vibe. But it plays so well into the way he actually looks and deciphers the game that you're like, okay, he's not actually trying to force it. That's not his game. He's literally just, okay, where are your weak points? Because I know exactly where I need to go. I have my sweet spots. I'm just hooping. I'm just here to hoop. I'm not trying to score a million points. Honestly, I don't even want to hoop for it. I don't even want to hoop for it. I'm just good at it. That's just the vibe that bro wants to like put out. So as long as he can keep up with not forcing it the way that he has been throughout these series, I feel like he's going to be able to at least just play up to your standard. That's all you need to do. Just play up to your standards. Get you a calm 35. That's all you need to do. Chet needs to crash the boards. I don't want to put Chet on Pascal. I'm not going to lie. I don't want to put him on Pascal. I'd rather see this J-Dub Pascal Siakam matchup. That's really what I'm really interested in, because of Pascal Siakam is a 30-year-old NBA champion. He's been around the block. He's hooped. He knows what he's doing, right? And we have this young dog that has this same type of aesthetic where it's like high motor, crafty, jackknife, jack of all trade, Swiss Army knife, jack of all trade, that whole type of vibe in a guy like J-Dub, where it's like, hey, I can make the next step from becoming a player like OG Anunoby to actually like an MVP type of because J-Dub has this interesting way about him, because it's like, okay, he has these two routes that he can go. He could either become an average, just a calm role player, or he could take that next step and to be like a superstar. Ooh. Because J-Dub has this very interesting way about him, because of he's at this crossroads, this NBA crossroads, where you could either go the OG Anunoby route, where you're like, you're really good, you'll make a whole lot of money, but you're not like a superstar. You'll make all-star teams. You're really good, I promise you. Or you could go this other route of, I could be a finals MVP. I could be a superstar if I was in the right position, but I just have to make the right decision, where you could become of a guy like a Jaylen Brown, or who's another guy like that? A Jaylen Brown or a Bam Adebayo level of player compared to like the OG Anunobys of the world. So those are a lot of main things that they need to keep in mind. And the Pacers need to be on their P's and Q's. That is their number one thing they need to be able to figure out, because it's going to be very, very, very hard to beat this team if you're not locking in. It's going to be really hard to be able to run your offensive sets if you're not locked in. You can't be second guessing yourself. You can't. You need to go down there and play your game, know your role, play within yourself, not try and do too much. Because of, I'm saying this right now, the way that the Pacers have been able to go on runs and blow teams out the water this playoffs, the OKC Thunder hasn't just been doing that this playoffs. They've been doing that this whole season. They've been doing that exact same thing, where teams just go and implode on themselves. But the difference is your superstar averages 17, 10, 7. 17, 10, 6. Their superstar is a 35 8-6 guy. Those two different levels. So it'll be very. I'm excited. Oh, I'm super excited. If I was, who do I think is gonna win? Honestly, I was thinking the Pacers might take it, but it's very hard, especially when you look at the games that they've played against each other. And then you look at the players' names on the paper. When you look at players on paper and then players in film, I will be very surprised if the Pacers are able to win it all. I think it'll either go 6 or 7. That's at least. But OKC in 6. That's my take. And we're out. Like, comment, subscribe, the whole 9 yards.